Disclaimer. The information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GAN's processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
Innovative, revolutionary, stellar development, purest universal knowledge. In a transformative, futuristic design. The Universal Body Enhancement Spaceship Unit. The very first new evolutionary spaceship technology has been rolled out for mass production. Our Universal Body Enhancement Spaceship Unit is constructed from high-quality materials carefully selected by our team of experts. Embedding the essence of the new GAN's plasma science and technology, it uses collective plasma field technology for changing and enhancing the environment of the body of the man. This new plasma enhancement changes the environment of the body to allow it to return to its natural balanced energetic condition, as in the womb of the mother, allowing every cell in the body of the man to find its natural original field strength balance. The shape and field distribution in this new space plasma technology replicates the inner structure of the universe and replicates the balance fields from which the man was created at the point of inception in the womb of the mother, not only receiving balance in the physical, but also in the emotional sense too. For the first time in the history of man, a system has been developed and delivered which not only enhances the physical body of the man, but also enhances the emotional part of the user of the system, hence reducing and eliminating many problems that could not be solved in the world of science, to bring the body of the man into near perfection, as at the time of birth. This new spaceship technology can be within the reach of every man today and can be ordered by medical practitioners, sports specialists and healthcare centres. The Universal Enhancement Spaceship Unit, the future you have been waiting for, is here. The journey from space to spaceship technology has started. Every order is subject to a contractual agreement and might require additional accessories priced separately for applications according to each case. You can order or contact us at office@at.kfm.global for additional information.
We are beings from the universe, living in nature, finding our way, making our path through time, looking for beauty. That is why we created the Keshe Foundation Gans Mask, to keep your beauty, to rejuvenate the skin and help it stay young through your life. The Keshe Foundation space technology embedded in the mask brings balance not only to your body and mind, but also balances your soul. Enjoy living happily in balance and beauty. Keshagan's Mask, your beauty from the universe. Water is the foundation of our life. It is part of every living creature. Pure water gives you the energy of nature. Now you can have this energy in your home. The Keshe Foundation alkalizer and energizer is designed for your daily well-being. It increases the pH of the water so your body can absorb more oxygen and stay in its natural condition during the day. Keshe Foundation alkalizer and energizer. Be pure like the water.
Hello and welcome everyone to the 392nd Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, August 5th, 2021. This is a broadcast of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute and part of the Education Department and Public Teachings in English. My name is Rick Crammond. I'll be a host today. As usual in these weekly Knowledge Seekers workshops. And as usual, we have Mr. Keshe of the Keshe Foundation, who will be delivering today's workshop. Hello, Mr. Keshe. Are you ready to go there?
Yes, and good morning to you. Good day to you, wherever and whenever you listen to this series of Knowledge Seekers of the Keshe Foundation programs worldwide. We welcome you back to another Knowledge Seekers program, and we try to endeavor to understand a little bit more about our own creation and the creation of the universe. For a long time, we taught about the different stages and different material condition, and now in the past few weeks, we are trying to bring the matter state, plasma state, and what we call the plasma of the soul of the man, to understand how it works within the structure. Last week, we expanded more on what was taught initially on the 387 series of teachings, and then on the 390, and then last week we expanded more. This week we're trying to expand more on this subject, plus adding more knowledge in the periphery of the whole technology of the space. We are entering new dimension, we are entering new era in technology development, and a lot of things are happening around the foundation, which allows us to bring these things very much onto focus and onto work. One of the first things we have to go back to and try to understand more will be the use and application of the energy field transfers and the things on those bases. First of all, before we start, we would like to make a couple of comments and announcements as usual. First thing is that we welcome and we congratulate and we respect the inauguration of the new Iranian president, His Excellency President Raisi, as the head of Iranian nation, and the support he has received from His Eminence Ayatollah Khamenei of Iran. We have seen a major breakthrough in the process of peace and what we will see to start. And it's the way Keshe Foundation has been negotiating and in a way advising the Iranian new administration to take the path. And we have seen in the inauguration speech of His Excellency, the new Iranian president, such a path was taken. This opens up the new path for peace. The reason is, if you're not familiar with it, in the past 40 years, every president after president, there was a target of attacking, target of demising other cultures and nations and other things, trying to create a nationalism. For the first time in the inauguration speech of His Excellency, the new president, Iranian president and Iranian leadership have concentrated only on inner strength of the nation and bringing new understanding into the nation. And this is what we ask for. Stop even the war of talks. Talks which can create condition of discomfort for the others. And we thank both the office of His Eminence Ayatollah Khamenei of Iran and the new president of Iran that such a line has been taken. And it was one of the speeches which brings only to, in a way, increase the inner strength of the nation within it to solve the internal problems than blaming the others for it, which is a massive step for a nation which has been on this massive boycott. We will see in the coming weeks the following programs of the Keshe Foundation wishes and many of the Iranians that we will put technology ahead of everything else in the development of the new era. The Iranian negotiations with the 5+1 will take a new shape and will expand and explain this more as we see it step by step taken forward. As I said, we see the path of peace, and with it we start new teachings, new systems, new technologies will be released to encourage, to create more jobs, not just for the knowledge seekers selling a cup of life or a soap, but major industries in Europe, in America, in Iran, in China will switch to the new technologies. These new technologies are already partially under development and testing in Keshe Foundation laboratories and different groups. For example, what we call plasma transportation, which means what you call teleportation, will be one of the first things that Keshe Foundation on a piece of negotiation will put on the table. In collaboration with different nations, this has to be decided at the first stage, that people from different spots and points on Earth can travel to another. We need to bring new rules and regulations, and it needs to change the 5+1 into a committee that we decide how everything will be done on this point. We are not allowing the 5+1 just to disappear, but we make it as a solitary group to make decisions as the major governments of the world on it become part of it. We see the addition of India and Japan and South Korea to this group will become part of the new era, that in introducing the new, what we call methods of transportation, new rules and regulations are needed, not by the boundaries and governments, but for the safety of the people in using it. In so many ways, as one feeds to another, new technologies will be given to the 5+1 to develop for humanity across this planet. As we said, we keep them so busy with the diversity that the war becomes a think of the past in vocabulary and the thought of man. And in that way, the new step taken by the Iranian administration opens the next step for peace for us. On the other hand, we have to expand on the knowledge of transportation, not only on this planet, but to other points and destinations across the universe. The governments have to decide which way we grow, both ways, or we prefer to go one way or another. But we advise that both ways to be considered, both through the dimension of physicality and to the dimension of transfer of energies, as we call the transfer of the soul of the man. In respect to what we understand, this will create millions, tens of millions of jobs on the edge of science and technology, developing new UFOs, developing new means of transportation, developing what we call smart cities, that all cities become smart. What we call eradication of high power transmissions is one of the major things that will be handled. Much of the, what we call the mining on this planet, goes into iron and copper for transportation, you being cars, being high cable, high tension cables, transmitting power from one point to another. With the new technologies we'll introduce to the governments on the table of new negotiations, is to eradicate all these, where the resources of this planet become part of the structure of the piecework of the man. In so many ways, we need to understand more. We need to understand the changes which will come for all of us. For example, when we transport from here to moon, as we promised by 6th of June 2022, which method are we going to use? Are we still going to use the method of what we call the UFOs, or we use what we call the transmutation of the plasma of the soul of the man? What technologies are on the table? Do we decide to go to moon through transportations by physical means, or through transportation of the soul? Which nation will take which part of this development? Do the Iranians and the Americans join on the transportation of the energy of the plasma of the man, and the Chinese and the Russians and the Europeans will concentrate on the development of the UFOs? This will bring millions of jobs on the table. Unbelievable amount of new technologies will be added. I gave my patent freely for this point, and now we see the benefit of it. And as we see, we'll decide on the new next steps of development. What is important for us is that once we get to the moon, what do? Do we change clothes, and do we wear new suits if we go by the physical means? Or what would happen to us when we arrive on the moon through the transformation of energy of the plasma? We cannot stop halfway and put a new clothing for the moon where our soul arrives. We have no spacesuits. Then in this method, we will see the man's soul will take the shape of the man survival structure, using the energies and the magnetic fields of the moon to create new shape for us. How do we know who's who? We recognize each other on this planet by our fingerprints, our faces, and our voices. How would we know when a soul arrives on the moon? A mother knows his child. A father knows his son. A husband knows his wife, and a friend knows another friend. This is the problem which many of the new technologies will emerge for all of us. By the emergence of the new understanding, how do we take shape? How do we recognize each other? When we go to the moon with the UFOs, how do we change to get out of it? Or are we just going in a tin box viewing the land. How do we get out? How do we walk the spans of this planet or anywhere else? These are the points that will be discussed in the new negotiations. That we negotiate the next step for humanity in how it tries to take steps to go for excursions beyond the boundaries of this village of Earth. This is part of our work. This is what in a coming time will be shown. The new Keshe Foundation Exhibition Center in Linz becomes a point of evaluation by all the 5+1 as the 7 nations of gathering into the program. It's not 6 anymore. In the new negotiation, we expect to see Japan to be part of this process. We expect to see South Korea to be part of this progress. We expect to see Brazil to be part of this progress. And we will show the first stages of new development in Linz. The new enhancement units, the horizontal and the vertical, and transportation and what you call energy transformers will be hopefully in different stages of development and presentation to the negotiating teams. They have to see what to come. They have to see what is to be. In so many ways, we might even introduce a new preparation system from the Iranian nuclear physicists on the table of negotiation. Purification to 100% level of plutonium and uranium, which allows us for the conversion of the plasma technology in use in depth of the universe for massive conversion. In so many ways, the new exhibition in Linz become the center point for the future of space technology in what is to come and what the world leaders have to decide. The point is that a man in Central Africa walking to a system can land in Washington, in Tehran, in Beijing within seconds. And how many of them we would like to see across everywhere? How many of the Americans would like to go and see different conditions and positions in Sahara? How many of us will decide to take excursion to Mars and Moon and other galaxies? The new group of what we call 5+1 has to become the new group for assessing the future use of the technology by all of us as a collective decision, stopping the rapid depletion of population of this planet, and at the same time to understand what is the next steps to keep law and order. You have to understand, with these means of transportations becoming available, drug trafficking, child trafficking, and everything else becomes in a way hard to control. What limitations we put, how we control it, becomes paramount for the 5+1 to agree on. The process of understanding is very simple. We now access a new technology. The new systems which are slowly being released, first to the governments and then to public, has to be considered its application and implication. Now that the new Iranian government has come into power, Keshe Foundation, in conjunction with the office of the new president, will introduce new technologies from Iran. New system even has been tested in past 3-4 days, and the result has come out yesterday. And more system will be tested in Iran in coming days, and will come out of the Keshe Foundation Iran in conjunction with the new government. We have lost the shackles of the past administration in Iran, which put hold on all the technology of the Keshe Foundation to become public. In a way, we have become free to show our technology worldwide. We have shown that Corona can be averted, and soon will be shown by the Iranian new administration. We will show the extension of the conversion of the pollution. Soon will be shown again through Iran, through the work of the Keshe Foundation factories in China, that will be shown in Tehran on a completed version. In so many ways, new technologies will emerge that will change the course of our work, even the way we have worked up to now. New technologies means new ways of living, new technologies means new understanding. And as one of the major works of the government will be the transportation. Keshe Foundation will release a combined magnetic gravitational system that allows transportation of goods from factory to dispatch to what we call end-to-end user direct. Governments have to decide the channels of the use over the land, or still we use the maritime lines of the past, but we convert them to the oversea transportation. In a way, we replace the ships on the high seas to ships which transport goods over the oceans, where it's much safer for us as humans on the land line. And this is one of the parts of the new administrations which have to consider. We will lose many jobs in maritime. This is what we said a long time ago. This will become very rapid. Are we still going to use the ports which are built, or are we going from A to B, from manufacturer to the end user delivery? These are all that has to become, and will keep the government busy with the new changes in science and technology. We will see the end of the use of petroleum in a very rapid, short ways. In so many ways, the expansion of the plasma technology will enforce such a condition. The nations who relied on the income and taxation on petroleum have to find a new way to reduce, or find a way that we all in balance across the planet cover the expenses of all of us. This will enforce a global taxation, which is about to emerge from the talks which will come across. In so many ways, we will not have Saudi Arabia to pile up whatever they like from what they extract from the earth, and the others to suffer. And we see the injustices in the administration of Saudi Arabia with their own citizens outside. And we will not have the nations in Africa producing the raw material and get nothing for it. A global taxation, a global administration becomes imminent in coming months, as the borders will fall and as the governments will have to agree on a global structure that all mankind receives the same, and all services become equal gradually over the next 10 to 20 years. In so many ways, we will license the production of the enhancement units to major corporations around the world who are in the medical application. Our main target is General Electric, Philips International, and the same with the Chinese and Japanese organizations. We will license the production of the enhancement units in every shape and form in the space technology, Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Iran Space Technology, the Chinese airlines. And we transfer the knowledge by the flick of finger once the agreement is completed. In so many ways, each specialty of each company which has been developed over past times will now move from the material condition to the new space technology era. We will release the production of the new computers in the plasma dimension and direction to companies who are the original chip manufacturers in China, in Korea, and primarily in Iran. At the same time, we'll increase the job across this planet for what we call the leisure industry. Mankind will have more time to do, and we will introduce new technologies in leisure and what we call deep space travel. As I said, the peace dividend is huge and a new generation of scientists and work. In so many ways, with what has come to us with the support of the present Iranian administration as of this week, allows us to open up the doors of the communication and transportation. We will introduce new systems in communication. Instant zero-time communications will come through the Iran National Defense University, which the Keshe Foundation has now a place and a position in. We will share this technology right across the planet with all the companies which are specialized to be able just to switch. We see a radical reduction in what we call CO2. New systems, as they come into operation, will release the demand for production of CO2. And then the planet on its own will find a way to balance itself out. But you have to realize, as by middle of this century, we estimate half of the Earth population will not be on this planet. We will take into space in different shape and form, and the governments from now have to consider what we call the reduction in population, the old age to be looked after, and new ways of medical applications and looking after the old people. The policy of bringing new technology is radical, and now we have found support and direction in the new Iranian administration. As I said, we will become the center of knowledge and technology, and we will further increase this. In so many ways, whatever you want to see new, you will see in Linz. New systems for new diseases, new systems to replace heart transplant, a new system to overcome diabetic, and what we call everything else which has been menace to mankind. In next 3 months to 6 months, every week, every day, we will release new technologies in public or in background to different organizations to increase the reliance on the safe technology of the plasma. As I said, we did not contemplate only on developing Arizona just to be an enhancement center. It's an enhancement center for peace, and we will see collaboration between the Iranian and American space technology people in this center. One point is reality, and that is the Keshe Foundation has become the part of the work that will bring the change. And as I said, we lost our biggest enemy in the administration of the Iranian past government, and we have found friend and cooperation in the new government. And we will push through the same way to share knowledge and technology in peace, as we requested. The new Iranian government looks in to make life comfortable for Iranian nationals, and in the same way, we give Iran the chance to become the center of technology and science, and at the same time, the center of peace. In understanding the new technology needs a lot of what we call patience. Many of our scientists have to change their education. Many of our scientists have to start thinking in a different way. One of the cornerstones of the transfer of the technology to 5+1 is the signing of the peace treaty by every nation's leader in this community. 5+1 leaders have to sign their nations into peace to receive the technology. And this is a condition which will be imposed right across every nation, which will be given the advanced technology ahead of being given to public. We have to guarantee peace, and we have to guarantee the implication and application of new technologies. The new energy systems which are developed by the Keshe Foundation over 15 years ago will be released to companies which are involved in power generation. Mitsubishi, General Electric, Iran Power Units Productions, and the Chinese. We try to use the present channels to maintain the job for the groups which are specialized in these fields. In so many ways, we exchange technology for peace, but to be peaceful, we have to keep the children of man busy, otherwise they get busy with something else. We will introduce new means of transportation into deep space, which has not been taught up to now. And again, all our work in every shape or form will come through the Iran National Defense University, which is a collaborator with the Keshe Foundation in development of new technology. We will see the head of university in how we can expand branches of the university across this planet. You can go to Iran National Defense University in Washington, in Beijing, or in Sierra Leone. In so many ways, we expand the branching of the technology through the same structure. As I said, we were waiting for the new administration in Iran to take root. We waited to see if what we requested from the new administration in the opening speech of the President of Iran will follow. We received a full green light, and we responded with full green light from the Iranian Scientific Organization. Going back to the teachings and going back to understanding of what we carried on last time and last weeks, we go back to the cup of universe. We go back to understand how we can change this cup to a system that can create life for us across this planet. The us is not anymore human being. The us is every citizen of this planet. The us is how can we change this cup, the parameters of these cups that can help the ants, can change the understanding and the life of a lion in the jungle, and the life and the what we call existence of the bear in the North Pole and penguin in the South Pole, the trees across Amazon, and all the forests in Siberia. It becomes important for us to move away from looking only what the man needs, but how can we apply this knowledge in this basic form to every living things? How do we elevate the soul of an animal? How do we elevate the soul of a plant? How do we change the condition of life that the plants and the lions would love to travel with us across the universe? Not by us engaging them in a cage, but by them being the willing partners to endeavor to show us how they will look in a new dimension. When we go, we take everything with us, not only the humans, but in that process, not to interrupt and engage, but to take with willingness the passengers of the earth into the passengers of the universe, with all its citizens, the man, the beast, and the plants, and everything else. This cup of universe means survival of every soul across the universe. We do not have potassium or a calcium on the planet Zeus. What happens if we take the calcium or a potassium salt out of the water? and we add the basic ingredients of the conversion of the energy to a plasma on planet Zeus in this cup. How would I look? How would I survive? What do I need to understand what I will be breathing? What's the source of my life? How many moving parts do I need? Or do I live in a swamp and I need fins? To what strength of fins? Where the calcium will melt into energy and silver will be the structure of my bones, or what I call the direction of movement. Do we need a structure of physicality like a bone, or can we swim like the fishes with no bone structure? This cup, the cup of universe, allows you to change everything which exists in that part of the universe and see the interaction of the physicality of the man within it before man reaches the point, if he wants to. The totality of the knowledge through the cup of universe, this is your universe. And which part of the universe, on which gravitational magnetic field, on which state of what we call inertia is needed. As you look in this cup, there is a matter of, as you look at the cup of inertia you have in the vertical system, you need to understand this. You have to create a condition of inertia and a condition of the gravitational fields for you to understand what energies are converted to in the new condition of the inertia and magnetic. The cup of universe is not only for man, but it's for man to understand his manifestation and the other point in the universe. How you will be, how you will interact, how you will survive. There is no time for a spacesuit. The spacesuit you have is your own physical condition which you create at the point of arrival from the interaction of the soul of the man with the fields of the soul of the position and the dimension you arrive at. It's not anymore copper. It's not anymore zinc. Understanding the structure of this picture is more important than the elements of it. At the bottom, we have the gravitational field forces. On the interaction of the fields of gravity, then you have to consider the interaction of the fields of inertia. How do you introduce another element to confirm and change position in the dimension of the inertia of the system? Where do you put your coil of matter states of inertia? Does the coil of what we call the inertia and gravity will create a condition and affect the soul of the man? Would your soul exist in the new dimension? Or do you have to change the structure of the fields of your soul to go to the higher strength, that you can keep your existence in a dimension of his life within the center of existence structure. The understanding of the new technology brings a new horizon for many of us. It's not anymore matter state, it's a field state. We have never considered up to now what we call the inertia of the fields. You consider the inertia of a matter state, you consider the inertia of gaseous state, you consider the inertia of liquid state. But what about the inertia of the plasma itself? These become part of the work that step by step mankind has to learn and to understand. What happened where you have no gaseous condition, you have no liquid state condition, or you have no matter state condition in a position in the universe. You want to meet somewhere between Mars and Moon. You want to meet somewhere between our solar system and another solar system when there is no matter state condition for you to land. But you need to create a condition of the inertia of the plasma. That can give you the manifestation in the plasma condition. That means your soul exists without the dimension of physicality. The new transportation system which will be introduced in coming weeks will carry such a facet. Understanding of the process in how you want to manifest yourself will become more important than what materials you have, what fields you create to manifest yourself. You take the soul and manifest it in dimension of physicality at the point of the observation when you want, and then you move that physicality. Christ did this on the cross. Now man has to understand what Christ did 2000 years ago. To leave the physical body on the cross, but transfer the soul out, that it will survive, and then take a new physical dimension and leave. Now this knowledge with this cup of universe is available to man. But you have to understand how you attain it. How you walk into a machine as a physical man, you become the soul of the man. We transmute the soul of the man to a new position and destination, and then that soul takes a new physical dimension. That's why nobody ever recognized who the Christ was. As he moved to Malta and across to France and what we call north of Spain. This is not a fairy tale. Now we understand the principle of creation. Man has the capability to do this. Always had the capability to do this. And Christ wasn't the first man who used this, and not even the last man. Now you have to learn the technology of it. In the animal kingdom, when a lizard loses his tail and he gets cut off, he grows it. Now we know how. How we do it, how we grow a finger, a toe, whatever. Now we understand the same thing with the soul of the man. At the point of cut, the pain and the suffering is so high that it goes to the dimension of creating a nano-layer. And then it reverts back to the physicality of the body. In the dimension of the soul, the pain of the soul is so high that it copies itself to freedom from its nano-layer, which is the plasma of the body of the man. And when it's released itself in a new dimension, as is on earth, will take near similar shape and figure. And if you could transfer the soul back to its dimension of physicality, you'll get the same man moving. But if the man decides he wants a slight difference than what it was, you will not recognize the new shape. This is the total understanding of the new knowledge. This is why, as I said to some of the knowledge seekers, nobody can trick you with the new magic in space. You see me now and you don't see me now. In so many ways, now we understand the way everything is done. Everything is clearly understandable, and everything is clearly tangible to man and the beast. We have grown a toe. Now we can shape the soul. If you understand how you can move the soul from one position to another, then you will understand new emergence of the communication systems, where you give emotion and soul to the information, and transmutation of it becomes instantaneous as you move the soul. The new packages of the energy transfer memory banks, what you call computers, will become beyond imagination of the man. It's you who have to decide what and how you feel this space of the cup of universe. And this will carry on. This process of teaching to start you thinking of new ways will carry on. It's no more, I nano-coat this and that plate and gives you this. We've seen knowledge seekers in the past few weeks start coming to understand this process and new evolution and ways to introduce a system to work for this have been developed by a number of knowledge seekers. How can you create a cup within this cup that by connecting your soul to it from the collection of the fields of the cup will feed you for life. It becomes important for many of you to understand these processes. And don't forget, I go back to what I said originally. To understand the work of this as a whole, the knowledge and the technology will be given to the scientists of different organizations around the world. That they can deliver the new technology. In so many ways, a combination of technologies in collaboration with many governmental and national and international organizations will come into force. There is a need for this technology to expand rapidly. And with it will come a lot of new insights into work of the universe. Once you understand this process, does not really matter into where and how you put what material. Understanding the concept, which is important, not what we call the work and structure. In so many ways, mankind needs to become flexible, that does not fix itself to a certain matter, certain condition, certain shapes and positions. I was explaining very recently to one of the knowledge seekers who was very persistent in following exactly what has been said. And I said to him a very simple way. Let me clean up this. This is what I say: when you understand the knowledge, it has a different meaning. And if you just copy it, you will not have that kind of understanding of totality. In the spiral system, we go like this. We use it nano and not nano. What about if I develop a system like this, where you have the interaction of the emotion and the soul with a matter state? Do I need understanding of it? And if, for example, furthermore, I just nano coat the bottom end, What happens if I repeat the same thing in two positions and not in one? What would it mean if you have a system which you have a coil and a straight line? Or the reverse of it, when you have a straight line and a coil. And one part is nano-coated and not the other, or the whole lot is nano-coated. This is why I explain, for this knowledge to be expanded needs many universities and many organizations to work, to develop, to understand. Knowledge seekers go step by step because you understand this way of work. But when it comes to commercial application, they'll break through new ways and new understanding. What about if you bring the iron and in a composition of the same to alloys, or what we call the composite, and you nano-coat one and not the other? With the emergence of technologies where you don't even need to nano-coat, but you can decide which part will this behave like a nano-coating material. Emergence of understanding of the technology is more important than the technology itself. What about having a soul which has matter structure within its own structure? Knowledge seekers have never tried this. In 2007-6, I showed this, but I realized nobody has understood. I repeated it in the Maghreb system. Again, nobody understood. What about if you have a tube and you have a coil of a tube? What would the field of the plasma inside will do? As I've said before, many of the knowledge seekers make Maghreb units and it doesn't work properly. And they blame for everything except their own lack of understanding. When you make the Maghreb units, when you make your coil, you make it as tight as possible. In fact, you created one piece. When you make the Maghreb units, your coils should not touch each other. Then you see some people make a better unit than you do, because each one is one piece. where you will learn about the structure of the magnet or structure of the spiral is exactly like your own spine. The space cap has a meaning for transfer and the strength of the more information in the neural system inside it. When you disturb and you lose the cartilage or the disc, you'll find disturbance in the neural system. Our coil and your spiral block in the back are no different. But in your magnetic system, we have developed a system which will connect end to end. What happened when your discs drop on each other? It's exactly how in your magnetic system you coil them and push them together. I said when the magnetic systems were produced in Italy to the team, you have a problem separating them, put something in between all your coils to observe this separation. When you push your coils together, you make a wire out of it. The same will be when you use and develop these kind of technologies. This is one of the reasons why Alex beads work better than the magnet, because of the separation of the beads from each other. Otherwise, in principle, each one is one loop. When you make these cup of universe, every detail has to be considered and has to be observed. You cannot just nilly-willy make it because it's there, I do. Paying attention to details. And this is why sometimes some of you cannot replicate what you did before. Because you do not observe what and how you connect or create a connection between. This is part of understanding the totality. This is part of what I call gradually understanding the nitty-gritties of the true world of science and technology of the space. When you, in a way, produce all these systems which you, without knowing, are transferring so much energy to is when you do your coils like this, you have different plasmas, because these tips create a field respect to each other. When you crush them together, the way most of you do, you have a straight line. You haven't created divergence. Much weaker field, much stronger field. Multiplication of the strong fields, very little strong fields. How you handle your nano material can give you different effects. You create different capacitors. In some of my work, if you go back to early works, I show something very, very simple. I show you a piece of nanomaterial and I do a lot of things with it, but you do not see it. I told you, if I catch man in the space, I'll become prophet every time I see a man, because I know the tricks of the game of the universe. For example, in the empty box of universe, I show different points and different parachutes. But if you could understand, or you've seen my work, if this is a parachute, and this is the next parachute, or this is another parachute, because you don't have the knowledge, you would not seen it, you couldn't understand it. I deliberately, by finger or by other ways, I crush the nano layers equally facing each other. To you, it's a nanomaterial. Here, I crush it slightly different, but the same way, which means this makes connection with this, and this makes connection with this. Oops, God didn't want you to learn this. Now, but we teach you anyway. Then you see the connection between the two. But at the same time, there's a connection with the new dimensions. But to you, it was just only two, what I call parachutes. I'm a master in my work, and I know exactly what I do. You don't see it. And because of these variations, I create a complex field flow and current flow. This is exactly how your body works. If you go back to some of the parachutes, you feel a slightly different sharpness and a smoothness, because I rub them so much that they behave like graphite. In some of the work, some of the parachutes I use the hot glue to filter and create only what I want as a CH3. Their techniques is not just putting in the gas into caustic and nano coating. I started using a hot glue as a process of the control from 2004 in the first, what we call body enhancement units, where many volunteers used. I don't use a hot glue as connecting the magnets as the, what you call, Belgians took it to their nuclear center and cut it open. They saw nothing but the, what you call, magnets and hot glue glued together in different way with a piping. The use of structure, because of the hot glue material, composite material in it, allows you to do a lot of work. You have a free energy resources of hydrogen. I started using this in 1996, 97, in the expansion of the field. If any of you still have one of the systems which are built for you years ago, and you can open it, you see how, in what shape I use the covering of the fields by using materials which is to you nothing. The heating, the extent of heating, you see yellow colors and clear colors. When we built the first energy system in 2004, 2005, to show certain materials, and then open in 2006 and 7, was clear what it can be done. It is understanding the science, and then you play with it. If you open the first systems which was built in Belgium and in Holland and in Germany, if you have one, and you can even open a window to the side of it, there's thousands of these units being spread across the world. You will see the extensive use and the specific use of what we call the hot glues, because the composite on them. But you have to understand it. It is understanding the presence of and release of energies which will play in your universal unit, in universal cups. If any of you have any of my systems, which was built in 2006-7, watch how I use it, open it. These are the samples in your head. Because the composition of the material and the heat you apply to it gives you different strength, different combination. Here you use different kind of flat or coil. If you look, and we can take the magnets out of the old system, which I use. Just hold it in your hand. And you see magnets have different weight, even they're exactly the same. Precise temperature on a magnet will change its properties. It's like a plasma. You have to understand the knowledge. You have to understand the techniques of the creation. It's not just by doing it, just because it does. We saw an idiot from America coming up with all these piling of the, what you call, glues, and claiming, I taught Mr. Keshe how to use it. In 2015, 16. The hot glues are used by Keshe Foundation from 2004 to 2005. They saw it and they copied it. But now you can open the boxes and you'll see. When we submitted for the first time the papers improving the plasma and the nanotechnology, I read a lot of papers from scientists to prove what I say is correct. And I printed them and I gave them to the scientists in Belgium. That what I say is got the proof of, these are the documents to support it. Not using the scientist papers to cheat on them, to steal from. When we came with the concept, we had to prove there are other things to support it. When we presented the technology for the first time to the Belgians, 3 tables, huge dining tables, each one with 10, 20 papers were set next to each other, on top of each other, to confirming why the plasma moves, why the nanotechnology is there, what the space scientists say about what we say about the movement. And since then, we don't need to read papers because now we have proven to be correct. We didn't need to rely on those. You don't understand something, or you have a belief, you have understood part of technology, go into the research papers and see which part of it you can prove is what you say is correct. And my advice to you is read only 2 pieces of any scientific paper, the abstract and the conclusion. In between is a waste of time, unless you're looking for specific things. But when you read the abstracts and the conclusion, be careful, there is no cheat, that they're just trying to prove what they said in the abstract to become conclusion that they could pass paper. I read hundreds of papers to prove step by step, and printed it and copied it. And I used to carry them in 2 or 3 suitcases to prove to the Belgian scientists and the world scientists what I say is correct, because the other scientists confirm my thoughts, but in different ways. You have to be able, now with the knowledge you have, to manipulate the fields. But understand that you understand the manipulation in a different way than the present science does. You understand it in a plasma condition, in a freedom of detachment of tangibility. When we showed the first torch or the light without the battery using nano-materials, we were branded as criminals and terrorists using nuclear material. Now most of you can do it. So you all became terrorists. The technology is years ahead, but you have to understand it to fit into your life. how you can manipulate, use different structures in that it gives you new understanding. Try as much as you can not to mix, if you're working with the plasma of the fields, with the matter connection. If you are connecting a nano-coated to another nano-coated, use a nano-coated wire. If you're connecting matter to matter, connect matter state. Knowledge seekers just cut a copper and connect this copper to that. Develop technologies that you can connect nanomaterials together, because with the present knowledge you cannot, but in fact you can weld nanomaterials together. Then you see how the system works. Transmutation of energy has to be through nanomaterial. Transportation of energy in the matter state has to be through matter material. Then you will see the true effect of your system. And if you make a mistake, you will see your matter state material will be nano-coating itself to correct your mistake, if the power motion is in the right direction. Try to understand the technology and try not to copycat the technology. We go for a break and we come back to answer any questions as usual. Thank you very much, Rick.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. Just give me a minute here and we'll have some of our usual break messages up, and we'll see you back here in a few minutes.
Thank you very much.
We are beings from the universe, living in nature, finding our way, making our path through time, looking for beauty. That is why we created the Keshe Foundation Guns Mask, to keep your beauty, to rejuvenate the skin and help it stay young through your life. The Keshe Foundation space technology embedded in the mask brings balance not only to your body and mind, but also balances your soul. Enjoy living happily in balance and beauty. Keshagan's mask, your beauty from the universe. Water is the foundation of our life. It is part of every living creature. Pure water gives you the energy of nature. Now you can have this energy in your home. The Keshe Foundation alkalizer and energizer is designed for your daily well-being. It increases the pH of the water so your body can absorb more oxygen and stay in its natural condition during the day. Keshe Foundation alkalizer and energizer. Be pure like the water.
Okay, we are back again with the 392nd Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, August 5th, 2021. Mr. Keshe, would you like to continue with questions on the second half?
As usual, yes, please, if there are any left.
Okay, I'll remind our attendees here in the Zoom live meeting that you can raise your virtual hands and we can acknowledge you to open your microphone. We do have a couple of questions. We have one from God's Eye View in YouTube who says, and this question they asked before apparently, if our bodies are the perfect MAGRAV systems, why are we not being taught how to use our bodies in conjunction with our emotions to get the desired results?
Repeat.
Okay, I'll try that again. If our bodies are the perfect MAGRAV systems, why are we not being taught how to use our bodies in conjunction with our emotions to get the desired results?
We do it every day. We do it short term or long term, but we never want to confirm it. We get a breast cancer because of the emotion of the mother. We get prostate cancer because emotion of the child. We get joy and happiness and laugh because of our emotion of understanding something suits us. We do it all the time. It's just that how we see it. If you bring the emotion of the hunger into the fields emotion of the universe, you'll be fed by the universe. You don't need to eat. But how do you do that? You have to learn. And we have to learn how our body reacts to different gravitational field forces and inertial field forces in conjunction with our environment and in conjunction with our gans of the body of ourselves. The inertia of the matter state creates a matter, which is on this planet reference point of around 54 to 56, what we call 58 even, what we call iron. In the liquid state is between 14 and 18, which is around oxygen. In the gaseous level, we work around about 14 to 12. But we still consider it, because of the moisture in the air, more like the oxygen, the liquid. And if we can create such a non-inertia or just below inertial level to conversion to matter state, we can absorb every energy we need from the environment of our planet. This is why we have the air flow and the field strength of the earth. In some cases, in the atmospheric condition, hydrogen plays the inertial level. But that is universal common denominator inertial mass. But on Earth, in some points, hydrogen plays the inertial mass for conversion of energy to mass. And then you have to understand what is the strength of your emotion, what's the common denominator of emotion of the matter. And that sits around the high level because it's a field only, there is no matter state to it, so it goes above iron, because it needs to be loaded on iron base field strength, which is blood, which first common denominator energy level of it becomes to be zinc. If you have common denominator base of copper, you get emotion of the muscles, but emotion of the feelings goes to zinc. Then you can absorb energies through emotion. Any other question?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. There's a question in the Q&A from Salamia, who asks, what is the fundamental difference between inertia and gravity, taking into consideration that the inertia of the environment is the soul of God, the creator? Thank you.
There is a thing, especially Salamia. Can you please stop posting links which are not reviewed by the Keshe Foundation and putting people through it? Do not post links which are not reviewed by the Keshe Foundation because they can bring our website down or other legal matters. We block people who start doing this because we do not need this kind of inputs on the Keshe Foundation background, please. The difference between gravity and inertia is a lot. The gravity we know is the gravitational field of the Earth because we are connected through it through our amino acid. The gravitational field forces of solar system man has not understood yet. Then we have the gravitational field forces of the galaxy. Is different than what we think is once the man starts understanding this knowledge. And it has an order of magnitude to the speed of what we call universal field forces. And in order of magnitude is thousands of times larger than the speed of light. So when you speak about gravity, you have to indicate the periphery, where gravity of the position. And then the inertia comes into position in respect to that gravity, where the field forces allow the conversion of the energy to matter state. If you understand the work of the inertia and understand how it applies, then you will understand how you can move from energy to mass and the mass to energy. It's a two-legged bird, I call it. It is part of the structure of the understanding between different dimensions. You can use the what we call plasmatic inertia of Earth, and not it's primarily it's magnetical, but it's inertia strength of it, and transfer the totality of one object from to another in the matter state. In the coming time, in what we call transmutation systems of the plasma, we will teach this. You don't want a stone or a suit on Earth to arrive on the moon and have a different dimension. You want to transfer exactly the same thing and receive exactly the same thing on the other side. You transmute it or transport it through the field of the soul of the stone or the clothing, or in the matter state inertia of it. But would it still have the same effect on the moon? If I send a 1 kilo hammer out of here, would it be still having 1 kilo hammer on the moon? But in the matter state. But for example, when I send the hammer, the gravitational magnetic field of the moon is different. The hammer appears as a dust. But I still want to carry it, that there will manifest itself as a hammer. There's a lot to learn about transmutation and transportation of the field in the dimension of gravity or inertia. gradually we open it. There is a link, there is an infinity loop link between the two. I hope I made it very clear. In so many ways, you can do in the future. Processes will teach you how. If you get the plasma of matter state, or what you call it, plasma state, like Earth gravitational magnetic field, and then you get the inertia and or what I call gravitational magnetic field of the inertia of the entity. There is somewhere in a strength field which you can match these and convert one or connect one into that. And then you can convert the inertia into the parameters of a higher level, what I call orders into manifestation of the field transfer energy. Which in fact, what you'll get is what we call the manifestation of the matter state at this point. Not at the point of the inertial and gravitational field forces of the planet. If you can lock this, you can manifest it anywhere, because you can imprint it at any point, just add it on. It's a specific knowledge, a specific way of doing it. And you can return back to or add to. So in a way, you can transfer your physicality to the soul and the soul back to physicality. But then you have to understand, you're dealing with the plasma energy inertia and not matter state inertia. Any other question?
We had a question regarding the background for the workshop, which is done by Jedi Simon. Antonio asks, is this a representation of what plasma fields look like, or is it just an artist's view of what these fields look like? I mean, it's an artist's view, obviously. He's asking if the background image for the workshop is a representation of what plasma fields look like.
In a way, you have to look at it three-dimensionally. Here we are two-dimensional. You have to look at it as a plasma three-dimensional. This is a very crude way. Hopefully, the educational tools in the coming time will be three-dimensional, and then we can show it in real time. Any other?
Okay, there's a question from Jefferson in the Q&A, who says, "Good morning, Mr. Keshe. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here with you. I'd like to congratulate you on your birthday and wish you a long and successful life. My question is, you told us that human beings do not have the technology to contain the virus and that the universal community would not interfere unless human leaders asked. I would like to know if we, the knowledge seekers, can be considered as a leadership on this planet, and if we can request this help from the universal community. If that is possible, I would like to ask for this help on behalf of all knowledge seekers and inhabitants of this planet. Thank you very much, Mr. Keshe."
Thank you very much, first of all, for everything else. The understanding of the use of technology for viruses has to be implemented by the governments. Because it is what we call dynamic energy fields, which crosses boundaries and nationalities, or whatever you want to call it. And the technology has to be in line with the common acceptance of the people and what are called at this moment governments. And we soon will reach that point. But essentially, knowledge seekers have the knowledge to protect themselves from viruses. You have enough knowledge. You don't need a government to do it. Knowledge is given to you freely, and is in the hand of knowledge seekers. We don't need now to make the knowledge seekers new leaders, and then we get all the shambles of what we have with elected leaders. You can only lead your own soul and your own physical dimension, and that's all it is. You are a king of your own castle. The rest of the world does not need to have a kingship. And the responsibility of the knowledge seekers is to teach freely, unconditioned. It's for the people to decide if they want to use it, how they want to use it. Any other question?
It seems like, in a way, that we don't have to wait for the universal community to deliver this knowledge, because we've already gotten it through you. Thank you very much. So
we all have the knowledge. Now we can use it the way we want. We don't have a patent office in the universe. We don't have a copyright. Knowledge is the right of every being in the universe to have, but with respecting it. So it doesn't make any difference where you are from and in what shape or form you manifest yourself. If you can comprehend the knowledge, and it's the knowledge of the creation, it's your right, because you are created out of it. You cannot patent something which you already have. And now maybe you understand why the pattern doesn't exist in the universe. Any other question?
Mr. Keshe, we have an old familiar hand up right now from Armin. So, Armin, perhaps you'd like to go ahead.
Oh my God, this guy is still around.
Hello,
Is
Armin.
he awake? I think he pressed the wrong button. Oh, he's awake.
I hear a voice.
Hear a voice.
How are you, Mr. Keshe?
Good morning, Armin. How are you?
Oh, doing good. I have one question. When you nano-coat all the materials, can you nano-coat them together?
What do you mean all the materials?
Say zinc, copper, iron.
Yep. You and I done many times of it. We do it in the factories. But you have to have different temperatures, so you embedded them in a high temperature, they all get nano-coated, but different nano-coating.
And one more thing, when you...
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Carry on. I'll answer.
No, you go ahead.
When there's a ways of nano-coating, different ways of nano-coating, even with caustic. You, when you nano-coat material, you can do it embedded or non-embedded in the same materials as you want, because you create a space gap. If you take a copper, nano-coat it, and embed it in the dust of iron, you create a different nano layer than if you leave it to be nano-coated in free space. And these are used for different application in different part of the industrial use. Carry on out.
When you put two nano-coating materials, zinc and copper together, so in the middle, and you create a condition of carbon, correct? Carbon 14.
You create a carbon with the emotion, but single emotion. If you use flat plates.
But nano-material is a carbon itself.
Yes, but the carbon has a carbon energy. But there's a difference between a carbon and a carbon with emotion. Or different strength of.
Can you a little bit explain that?
It's like you have two dead bodies and two bodies which are alive. The two dead bodies are just the metal condition. When you have two bodies who are alive, they have an emotion. And that's what it is, if I can put it that way. But then you have I'm gonna go on this, because then Ahmad, somebody loves you. He says, what a blessing to hear Ahmad's voice. Oh, Doug McDonald. If you nano-coat two plates here, yeah? I'm gonna do it. What is it? It's going to say. If you nano-coat the material, when you have two matter, you just feel the strength of the matter. We still have a carbon residual field strength, but the matter stayed very weak. When you put two, you create a field plasma of a stronger field with a single emotion, with a single effect. When you coil it, you create cross fields in a plasmatic condition, which leads to the dynamic emotion. And this is what the difference is.
Okay, I understand.
Okay. And this is the matter state we always done. This is the single emotion field of the carbon. The carbon here can interact with the emotion of the man. One emotion, but you have to find out what the strength you found. But when you do a composite coils and nano-coated in the shape of two, these fields, you see, this is the emotion of the man with the physicality of the man. The being coming from planet Zeus has a different material combination. Now,
yes, of course, it's understandable.
it's a different emotion for him. And this is how it works. But in the universe, we all have one common, what you call it, dimension emotion that we all understand. And this goes back to the basic understanding of the emotion of the survival. Laughter, joy, happy, not happy, and the rest of it. Essentially, in the universe has that common denominator.
Mr. Keshe, you always explain that life exists on this planet between copper and zinc.
Yeah.
So iron is become
Iron is the connection of the holding of the man to this, yeah, to this planet.
And when you say composite,
what?
When you say composite, you have two composite spirals on a side, which is iron and zinc.
Yeah.
The
cup and the iron inside locks it to the presentation of the earth. And then whatever you have on top is the interaction of the fields of the composite in respect common base of iron with it and with its environment. You create a base common standing of iron from this point on. The strength of the gravitational field of the earth. None of the knowledge seekers, as far as I know, has ever tried something like a spiral nano-coated galvanized and a zinc galvanized, what do you call it, nano-coated. All of you have tried the copper, but not zinc. This will give you an amazing structure if you do nano-coated zinc and a spiral galvanized. Many of you, when you make this, you feel emotional. When you produce a coil of zinc nano-coated with a coil of galvanized, you have a composite effect of emotion.
Yeah.
And no one has ever done. This is one of the emotional units. And in the cup of universe, I have placed a zinc coil, or a galvanized coil. Because in the nano coating in the middle, this creates the emotion. And emotion with energy and feeling. None of you have ever done this. And that's why I say the cup of the universe carries the emotion of the man. You have the nano-coated zinc in the middle, and you have a carbonized zinc. The reason for this is for emotion.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
One
you,
more
Mr.
question.
Yes. How many times have you spoken to Jalal? He comes with 2 questions, now you go with 4. Come on, carry on.
Can you collaborate a little bit on salts? Because the salts
On
always
what?
we use is salts.
Salts.
We always use sea salt. But if we're gonna add salts into it, so then it's totally changing the environment.
Yes.
But then if we want to change different environments, so what we do? I know we have to add a drop or 2, but still, if you want to change it back, so you can't because you already mixed it in the water.
What do you mean by that?
Huh? Let's say if you want to add little bit potassium, then you want to change calcium, then you want to totally change magnesium, but you already added into the water, so you have to, how are you going to change it different ways?
You change your water.
Mm-hmm.
Drain it.
Change the water?
You change the water or add to it and see what it does. Because there is something you have to monitor. What percentage you put. Every time you add a salt, even of the same thing as you change the salinity, when you add another salt, it's not this anymore. It's a new salinity. And what does salinity does in respect to the nano and the materials you have inside?
Mr. Keshe, we have to fill the cup up to the half a point. I was thinking, half a point or, not up to the high point.
It doesn't matter what you fill in, to what height. What is in the water behaves in a liquid state. What is above it, it behaves in the air system. Still you have
That's what I want to.
still you have a nano coating of the 2 and a plate of the 2. What you see here is the reaction of the liquid state between the 2. What you get here is the reaction of the atmosphere, what you call, but nano-coated atmosphere. Yeah, but that's why we create amino acid here. Is the inertia of the gaseous part. Here is the inertia of the liquid part. That level.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Armajad. It's nice to see you back. Any other question?
Yes, we have Ed with the hand up here. Thank
we
you,
have
Armin.
somebody, there is somebody, it's written in one of the chats, is Palestine Constantine. He says, why do you say no one tried, didn't? Maybe I should show you pictures from 3 years ago. You should have discussed it, but you knew it creates an emotion. You tried it, but what did you get out of it? Did you understand you could, you create and you can create emotion with your cup? Many people make things and they leave it. I tried it, but did you understand what it does? Could you communicate with it through the emotion? But which emotion does it touches? Because different galvanization creates different emotion. A lot of people do things and say, oh, I did it, but did you get the result? What did you understand by doing it? You just look for ganses. But is this gans a gans of emotion? We have a lot of people who immediately when we release something, I did it, but what did you get from it? What did you understand it does? And then they claim, Mr. Keshe copied me. Well, we never copied you. You can make anything. As long as you don't understand what's the purpose of it, you just make something. Next, any other question?
Okay, Ed, would you like to go ahead there?
Oh, thank you. Good morning, Mr. Keshe. I would like to ask again about the inertia. I asked last week and I was trying to explain my concept of inertia, and you introduced an added concept to it. I was understanding the interaction of the plasma with its environment, and at a certain place there is a region of inertia, but then you stopped me and you said there's a third element, and to my understanding it was the state of physicality of the observer, and I've been trying to understand that, and I wondered if you could elaborate on that and if it had anything to do with the images that you showed just a few minutes ago.
What we understand is the process of creation of inertia is, as we said before, or put it this way, inertia is the process of manifestation of tangibility. Up to now, we know, oh man, things, one thing, and that's the inertia which creates, for example, let's say copper, or we see zinc. We can have a composite inertia. And again, if the composite inertia has part of its strength in a plasma inertia and part of its linked, let's say, to zinc, to the matter state of it, or to a gaseous state inertia or a liquid state inertia, we see the manifestation of the matter state which is observed by us plus some field effects. We know this with magnets because we see the magnet, which is the physical, and then we see the field effect of its plasma inertia, which is the transformation and transportation of its fields, because we can feel it against another iron or metal or whatever, and we see it pulls together or it attracts to it or sticks to it. Inertia, what we call magnetic field, like we say the gravitational field of the Earth, is a composite inertia. Is the inertia of the matter state and inertia of plasma state. And this property exists with all and most of the elements in given conditions. If I can put it in another way, is that if we say you're a man from the Earth, and we have a man from planet Zeus, you're both looking at the space where the magnet is. As a man of Earth, you see the magnet. As a man of the planet Zeus, I see the field, but I don't see the magnet. Do you understand?
Yes, and that's kind of where I was headed last week, but I just couldn't. The reason I want to understand this is because I feel if I understand it, I can learn how to control it, or we as humanity can learn how to experience and control it. And so I don't see the practicality yet of that difference. I understand there's a difference in our perception of physicality from being here on Earth or being in the physical nature of planet Zeus. But how does that enter into our experience of creating the inertial fields here?
Partially in the long term will be in the applications of transmutation and transportation as we go deeper in understanding. And partially in manifestation of the matter state.
Okay.
It
what
is,
about this?
It is when mankind will learn more and more as we go through the transmutation of fields to transmutation of elements, which is another state of fields, but of the lower strength. When you increase the gravity and reduce the magnetic, or when you increase the magnetical and reduce gravity, you transmute between the matter state and the energy state. It's very much like a transformer. But this transformer has a specific characteristic.
Thank you very much.
As I said some times ago, with moving into the plasma technology and space technology, we come across new emotions, which we don't have. We come across new feelings, which we maybe felt it or knew it, but now we can define it. Because now our knowledge has increased. As I've said in other teachings, the dimension of the emotion of the man is not just happiness, sadness, and the rest. There are hundreds and thousands of different emotions that does not exist in the dimension of physicality. But once you move into the dimension of the fields, as an energy fields, as a plasma fields, we have to explain, I feel something, but I don't know how to put it. And these are emotions of the plasma. These are the emotions of the universe. And gradually we'll define them.
So is our learning to define these emotions within ourselves, that is how we will gain the ability of control of the plasmatic energies and these, the transference from plasma to inertia to physicality, these emotions, as we come to identify them and work with them? Is that the key?
Gradually, yes. It's like emotion of recognition in our physical life. Scientists tell us till age of 6, 7, 8, 9, depends on our development, children are not aware of a color or race. Even they see it. And even they feel it, but they're not aware of it because there's no awareness. Unless from age of 2 or 3 years, father says, oh, this is black, you don't do that, this is white, you don't do that. If we leave our children in the natural world, they don't understand the emotion of the separation between color and races. It's an old movie, a beautiful one, where one of the famous 2 actresses, when they are children and they're sitting on a tree, and the white one says to the black one, can I lick you? Do you taste like chocolate? You remember that one?
I remember you referring to it, yes.
Yeah, so these are the emotions we are not aware of. Now we come into the world of the science of plasma. We become aware of new emotions. We have to define it. We put name to it. It's very hard to explain to someone the emotion of love unless you've fallen in love. The love to a child is to an animal, to a cat, to a toy. But when you fall in love with another person at the older age, it's a different meaning of love. So we define it when you are adult, you fall in love. Now with the new science of plasma, we come across new emotions, as I explained a few teachings away. And we have to define it. We have to be able to understand these commonly. These are the categoric things that we will do. And we go back into it. There are new emotions of colors will come into play without we going to the understanding of new plasmas. When we break into further steps in the higher orders, where this will become a lot of work with a lot of people who travel in a dimension of the soul energies. You gather different emotion. It's like acceleration, which you cannot explain. If you're in a physical body, we can explain it. Emotions at a very high speed physical man is very, very different. And what you remember it when you arrive in the other point, when you come back to Earth and you take over your recreation of your physical body, you still carry those emotions. Now we have to define those emotions, because more and more people will go through it. We don't have a word in our present vocabulary for it. We have emotions of what we call vacuum. We have emotions of interaction of the fields of the space gap. You know, when you go into a free fall, how you feel? You say, my stomach comes up. I feel it's like a fear but not knowing. We have that kind of emotion in a high speed plasma. It stays imprinted in you, but it creates a different emotion. It's like a free fall, but it's not a free fall because you know you end up in a destination.
And you can learn how to initiate that.
Yes, we gradually will. We don't need a machine. Initially, we provide a machine, but then you become a free fly once you know how to do it.
I once saw a video many, many years ago of a person using their hands to do surgery. And so now I understand that this person somehow was unique in that they had identified the emotion that allowed them to use the plasmatic energies in this way.
We have many people with equal field balance with some people and not with all people. The whole purpose of teaching is that we all reach to that point. It's not that they understood. They can maybe go with their hand in your stomach, but not mine, because it's different composition. You understand? The whole purpose of teaching is that we all commonly can understand and adjust to that point. And this is how we commonly bring it up. We point it out, we settle it, and we have many, many emotions, enormous amount of emotions to be identified, to be named, still to come.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Any other question?
I was just showing some pictures that were sent to me actually from Cristiano, I think the name was, from some of your earliest work, earlier work, I should say, Mr. Keshe. These were from the patent application, actually.
These are the parachutes, and we do a lot of other tests with it. How we position these, if you look at them, even if you look at the color of the hot glue, has an effect on it. There is enormous amount of technologies have been tested. I'm not a theoretical scientist. We are what we call practical scientists. So we do things, we observe different things, we observe different understanding. One of them is what you see, for example, that white wire with nano-coated wire coming out of it.
I was just going to point that out. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
I was going to say that's special, not just a piece of wire sticking out there.
If you strip this wire all the way, it's nano-coated. All the way through 100%. This is a way, certain ways to do the wire is fully nano-coated inside. We developed this technology for a specific applications. World of Electronic has not understood this yet. This is an amazing material. You have fiberglass communication. This is a superconductor in there, but you have to know how to use it. This is a technology which I put it there. People don't understand it because it's not there, but in some teachings I refer to it. We have a guy in the chat is trying to prove he is done whatever. You have to prove it and understand it yourself. We are not here to prove anything. We just share knowledge. In so many ways, if you look at some of these parachutes, you see the copper wire towards us is not copper looking. It's a darker looking copper. It's already been nano coated by the material inside and outside. This is a plasmatic nano coating. And this is a superconductor coating. Just if you, let me see if I can highlight on it. If you look at this wire here, it's not copper. It originally is pure copper, but the plasmatic flow between inside and comes out and interacts with the fields which are around the thing, nano-coated. These are one of the first plasmatic nano-coatings we did. The same with here. This is not just black here. We used to strip this to use it for a specific use. Initially, when we did this, if you have seen, I used to have a Christmas tree. I used to be a magician, a small Christmas tree connected to a battery. And used to flash, you put on a Christmas light. We used to use these wires to connect the positive and negative together and show that we can connect the battery with the strip wires to a Christmas light and it still shines. In the world of present knowledge, could not be done. This is a graphene at the highest order because I knew how to convert it to graphene for other things. And if you do this connection between the Christmas tree and the battery in a specific way, you will find out that your battery starts cooking, literally cooking. Your battery is heated up because the nano-coated wire now absorbs energy from the environment. It's not that the resistance goes higher in the battery. We used to have it, let's say, 2.8 volts. When we started it, we go to 3.6 volts while the light shines. This is understanding how technologies, how things you put and they work. If you go back to the other picture you just had with the voltmeter on, if you can bring that up. It's to you, it's just a voltmeter, but to me, has a lot of meaning. Look at this sign here. This negative sign. What does it mean? It's not consuming. That electrode is charging. And the bottle keeps a different, what do you call, composition of, keeps a different energy field plasma in it. If you go between these two and you see negative, means there's a field absorption and you got gravitational field here. And after a point, this becomes gravitational, this becomes charged. And when you run too long with this, these meters get totally damaged. And because the plasma, the whole inside of the system gets plasmazed. But the energy source from this system comes from the plastic, especially this button here and this here. What we see in this is amazing. When we explain it to some ignorant scientists, they could not understand it. Maybe now you understand it. You create a plasmatic gravitational field flow in this cap. And you already put caustic, which have nano-coated. The environment of the bottle now is totally plasmatic. It's not anymore air, even the door is open, cap. But you have created a gravitational magnetic field, which we use the caustic, which is we can nano-coated the wall of the plastic. Now this gravitational magnetic field starts doing a wonderful job, which is it starts pulling the carbon from this into here and the carbon from here to here, because it's a plastic CH bond. And with it, because of the environmental field here, if you put a little bottle here, you'll be collecting pure hydrogen from the composition. And then what happens, you see this disappears, you don't have any more cap, and you see a big hole here. And strange enough, only happens with a certain brand of drinks, plastic use. The pepper use gives this effect. And I used to produce beautiful hydrogen plasma from this. And they use millions of megawatts in CERN to create that plasma. The cleverness of these kind of magics is understanding how the system works, understanding that you work in a total plasmatic condition. And this is why I always refer to work in one or the other. And if you work between the two, understand which one is which.
Mr. Keshe, could you explain a little bit about the difference between the carbon as a nanocoating and the copper oxide or copper as a nanocoating, and which environment, or how do we look at that? If we look at it plasmatically, then but then the actual carbon molecule, the carbon element, is removed from the bottle. It goes onto the mushrooms apparently, and hydrogen liberated. But
Yeah,
could you tell us the difference between that? Explain a little bit.
Yeah, you see the blackness you see here, as we said many times, is that black is 40 to 50,000 layers. When you have the carbon coming from the plastic, it embeds in this, in different places. And it has to come in the right time, and the nano layer has to be in the process of expansion. And this carbon is graphene, because is in the status of gaseous of the carbon, or what we call the odor condition. And this bottle was the creation of all the problems of the Keshe Foundation. Because in the company in Belgium, which is stealing all the nanotechnologies around the world and is part of the criminal organization of the Belgian government, and he headed by the most criminal lawyer who became the head of European Space Agency, is made this a criminal, because they said you use a gamma rays to embed gas inside nano layers, because the knowledge wasn't there. They understood what it can do, but they tried to steal. This, from when this layer is created from the carbon, hydrogen is too thin to be embedded and tested. So partially we have GANs of what we call plasma of hydrogen in these layers as well. We've seen it in our spectroscopy. But essentially, the carbon from the head gets embedded in between fields of the copper, and then it becomes the graphene of it. This was the first time ever in the world graphene was created. This is the report of it. If you go back on that graph, which you showed, it's from this parachute. And in it, this is the conformation of the graphene. First time ever we could confirm the existence of the graphene. And it's in the report. And this became how we became a terrorist. And then they found out he has a lot of values. We had the king on top of us wanting the technology, because the husband of the son of the king, his husband, wanted this to be his because he read the patent. Now they understood the patent which we submitted was read, had the backing for its scientific technology. These are the principles of developing new technologies. If you look here, it's just what do you call it? A piece of copper. There is no parachutes, even here, because we wanted to test a dynamic, because this parachute has a sphere. This parachute is, this wire is a spherical plasma. It's a big difference. This is the reason we created this kind of position. And if you look, they've all been placed when they were copper. None of these parachutes ever been pre-nano coated. They were placed in a bottle, sealed. Then we add what they used to call at that time magic liquid, which is the caustic, and let it cool down and empty it and leave it. These here, they all used to be all copper. And now you see they're all nano coated. This is a plasmatic nano coating, which nothing can stop it. And this is a spherical plasma. These are cylindrical plasma. And because of this, we could write the book number 2, how plasma changes from a spherical to cylindrical and travels. He can physically show it because there's an energy transfer. Because these are all copper, there is a transfer of energy. And then when you look how each electrode at what speed the nanocoating changes. It took years to develop an environment that you could physically show it can be done in a simple way. And you can you can experiment this with the space technology. You can use, if you understand this, to create different fields of the space positioning to see how fast you travel. But this will teach in the future.
Matter
to light to matter to light to matter. And if you look, we measured these are little pins we put deliberately in intervening points to create special conditions of measurement. Any other question?
I was going to ask if you've ever considered rotating this reactor or similar.
Oh, I've done a lot of things with it, yes.
Because then that hydrogen, maybe that would be sort of trapped in the center that way where the lightest gases would be, and you'd be able to play with it more.
The hydrogen does not stay in that level. The hydrogen very rapidly, if you do not know what to do with it, leaks from these boundaries under the knees of it. Usually we get a lot of helium from this composition. We learning from this, when you go to these flower shops, or you go to children toy shops where they say helium balloons, before application of the helium into the balloon, if the balloon does not have a helium sealer, it will go through the balloon. The balloons which are specifically designed to hold helium gas are sprayed with, it's like a colorless water. They are lined with it, and then they empty it, and then they're blown up and they stay. The real helium balloons which are use this material, they never go flat, because helium can go through the layers of the plastic. It's so fine. But when you put this paste, it's not a paste, it's like a water, it blocks helium transferring. And this we used to use on this to stop the leakages of helium, and then you get a different effect in the bottle.
Now, where would the helium come from? I'm wondering.
The helium is pardon?
Go ahead.
The helium comes from this environment here is a new world for itself. It's a plasmatic world. And the hydrogen from the system creates partially tritium-2. It's a composition, the way when you break up the plastic. This is one of the properties of PEP. And then it allows the, what you call, combination of tritium and deuterium to create helium. And then you get a single hydrogen and a single helium atom. It's a very fine way, the way it works, because you have a very interesting point. You are in a plasma condition, because now these are all nano-coated. You have a very little patch here, and you have a very big mass here. These interact in fields, because here you have a small amount of nano-coated of a PEP. Here you have a huge amount of it. And the field interaction creates a vortex of winds here, plasmatic winds. If you work with many of these bottles, you will understand there is a ratio in the amount of what you call breakup of the lid and the expansion or the hole in the bottom. There's a direct correlation. They correlate very, very perfectly. You can adjust it, you can do it. There is a ratio, how you do it, and because they create a field flow. And bottles which don't have this, you don't get this. These are different things. Later on, we published this and used by a company, because this, what do you call it, here is nano-coated, nothing sticks to it. And this knowledge, then later they use it now in ketchups. If you remember, fluids couldn't run very easy, you had to shake it. Now they nano-coat the bottle and the liquid flows very smoothly out of it. But nano-coating is done the same process as part of the nanomaterial they use in it. The technology we release has been used in many, many diversities. Because now the scientists read, watch, and they develop different things how this applies.
Let me show a couple of more pictures, Mr. Keshe, while we're on this topic of the oldies but goldies, you might say.
Yep. It's not this on the knowledge part of how the technology has been set up on. You keep your blue because that's it. You see these parachutes, I call them, and free spaces have a defined, what do you call it, shape. For example, if you look at this, it's not a straight part. If you look at here, you have a straight bar. This is what I said, what I explained before. If you look, some of these have silicon on top of them. If you look, these are not all black. Even though they look some no nano coating on, they have minimum layers of. If you look at the box, you will see even how the shapes are different. And if you look at this, look at the colors of them. They all should have been nano coated. It takes weeks and weeks to set a test like this. And with this, we create a field flow. And when you create a field flow, you have a central gravitational field here. If you look at these two next to each other here, that absorbs energy even through the box. through the wall of the box. This is how you feed your soul. And this is, as we call it, the empty box of universe. It's taken ages and ages to do. If you look at some of the pictures, maybe you understand more of. I explain to you, you see it. If you look, some are on a straight line and some are on an angle line, deliberately put that way. We have one or two that the ends are clockwise or anti-clockwise. The parachutes, if you look at here, there are different heights. Is to create the turbulence of the field. Because the box itself has been nano-coated with caustic. This is a British lunchbox. And it came from my previous business life, which it came to here. We had it so we could run a test. The original, this box had a cup in it. What do you call it? Teacup, tea mug. And it was a promotion by a butter producing manufacturer. And they couldn't get it marketed, the promotion failed, so there were millions of them we bought. And the cups were sold as a teacup in the market. The boxes were used for another company which I used to own, which is what do you call it, the wetties. The wet napkin, what do you call it, for cleaning children's butt, I call it. We use these boxes for, because we had millions of them, to get rid of them as a packaging. And the leftovers are here. A very famous brand in the world. And now it's become a box of the universe.
Thank you for that, Mr. Keshe. Very interesting information there, and some information that people that are new to the Keshe Foundation teachings, need to know that this is not something that's brand new. This nano coating process, that you've been at it for well over a decade. This is from what, about 15 years ago? 2000.
More or less, yes, 2005, 2000. You see, I use a lot of different shape of hot glue, even from outside or inside. There's a difference between inside, when you look, is a white, these are silicone. The ones outside is a hot glue, and you see I cover some of the pins fully with the glue, very small tip left. And hot glue has been used extensively in development of technology. From earlier, when they came out, we could see, because of its composition and an application. And I've seen recently, one guy says, Mr. Keshe copied me, and what's his name? The guy, we gave him a platform to talk twice, and then now he'll become the god in competence. But this is how you use every material for its own application and implication. And as I said, especially this is very, very interesting. And you see it here. They all should have been nano-coated, but they're not. Because it depends at what temperature, how you use a hot glue. It gives you sealing capability and capacities. And it never leaks, or you allow it to happen.
Mr. Keshe, what are there seems to be like two parts to the electrodes sticking out. There's the white part, and we can see the copper on this one, for example.
These are little electrodes we use primarily. It's not electrode, is, you know, the end of the wire. You understand? We used to put end of the wire, and we put the wire in it, and we crush it, and then we use the ring as a, what do you call it, connection point. We put the screws through it. I use these for the to stabilize the, what do you call it, the pins.
Oh, okay, I see.
You understand? They just gone through, the wire goes through it, and in a way you can use it for measuring current and voltage or whatever you want with your meter. But primarily they're used to stabilize the pins not to move and stay in the position you want inside.
Okay, good, thank you.
What do you call it? They have a name for it. It's just a little pieces that you usually solder the wire to it at the end of it sometime, or you pinch it, and then you connect that one through a screw in a plug. This is a very interesting condition for understanding plasma technology, because at that time nobody could understand that nanomaterials create their own environment, a plasmatic environment. You can create huge possibilities if you understand the work of the systems. Yeah, that's another one. Kodak. You remember when there was a company called Kodak? This is how they used to sell the films. It wasn't like now you could take a shot on the camera. You had to take the film out, get it developed, and you had to send it to them with this pocket that the light doesn't go into the film and spoil it. And this is a battery. This is one of the first plasmatic batteries we produced. This is still going. I saw this one very recently in one of the archive boxes. Each one has a different capability. This bottle produces, I think, if I remember, 4.8 volts constantly for years, 0.02 amps. This, when you see that 544 is one of the pins with the other, but in totality, if you connect it, it gives you about 4.8 volts, because you have a gravitational system on some pins and magnetic on some. You see these pins that are still here again. You see them here? These are to stabilize the position of the pin in the inside the container. Somebody called them the connectors.
Yeah, wire connectors, basically.
Wire connectors, yeah. This is in the center, there is a pin, and this is a plasma battery, a true plasma battery, and it's still running. If you check it, it still runs. It'll produce for centuries. You see, this is half a volt. But some points go 1.2, some points go 1.2. You see no signs on this one, which is a positive gain. And the other one is minus negative. So you go total balance of what is created, what is absorbed. We used to use a lot of these Kodak containers. We used to have hundreds of them and used for different purposes. It's used for some of the flight system. Well, originally they're built, and you replace this into, that's why when the Belgians came, they couldn't do anything with it. This goes into the shock absorber position of the car and can lift the car. This is a gravitational system inside it. That's all you need to lift one corner of a car, no more. And I built them, they were there. It would have taken me less than 10 minutes in Eindhoven to position them in the place for the car to lift. But it needs a specific material which was confiscated. You don't need more than this in the what do you call it, in the position of the shock absorber. If you have a car, you place 4 of these in the center of the place where the shock absorber and 1 in the middle. Small capsules. They lift accordingly. And our people said he never had a system. These are the flight systems. So simple. So because the feeder of the plasma, as you see, is these electrodes. It feeds itself, it maintains it. And by interacting in a specific way with some of them, you increase and decrease the gravity. Very, very simple. You see, there it is. You can embed it in anything. I cannot reduce my screen somehow. Yep. Got it back. These are the original plasma that would have been embedded in these batteries. Then you can see, you can make it as miniature as possible. They're totally plasmatic systems.
Mr. Keshe, was there liquid or vapor condition inside of?
It's just total plasma. You initiate the ignition and you close it. You initiate the ignition of the plasma. There's a specific way. If you look at it, it has a seal underneath of it. And then you seal it. You can see the seal. If you look, it's total plasma condition. We don't allow anything in. There's a seal here. Again, this is what do you call it? A combination of a number of different materials. It's not a normal silicon or hot glue. Developing materials to hold plasma has taken me years. Sealing a metal into a plastic without leakage of any plasma or gases. It took months to develop just the sealant here to hold these. because if you don't do it properly, the helium, or what they call the gases, leak very quickly, and it's a nanomaterial, nothing sticks to it, and it goes loose. But for years, still there, nothing has changed. You brought back a lot of memories.
Well, thanks to Cristiano, who's been he's been feeding me images here.
So you have a collaborator in the background.
Yes, we have a spy in the background that's helping out. I think these are all from the patent application, so far as I know, and we look at there's another image here. Of the actual patent application, and we can see the similarity with the Keshe 9-volt battery configuration right there at the beginning of this. Oh, it's probably over 100 pages on this patent, as the other one is as well. For those that haven't seen this image before, it can be quite profound, actually.
These are the first plasmatic reactors, double reactors. The center creates gravity and the outer creates magnetical, or in reverse.
And there's the original patent with the configuration of the reactor, which might be in a larger configuration than the micro reactor.
This was completely studied, analyzed for 3-4 months by leading European, what do you call, space organization in Belgium, which is again has a criminal lawyer inside it and is partially owned, used to be owned by the same group, and was confirmed that it was called the first gravitational, if I remember, gravitational generator, plasmatic gravitational energy generator. And it creates both gravity and magnetic. It compresses the plasma, and then it's a combination of fields inside it, which then leads to creation of gravity and energy release. The energy comes when the gravity pulls the energy from its environment inwards. It's very strong. If you look at this pattern, very interesting is the combination of the materials which are given here. If you open it up, can you open the picture of the center? Can you open this picture by any chance? Make it larger.
No. Oh, I'll just make the picture larger. Yes, I think I can do that. Just a minute.
Make it larger. If you take it to the center of the page, if you look, there is a huge amount of information in here. You have a circular field. You have a dynamic field. You have fields which are going out as a creation of what we call like atmosphere, magnetical. You have huge amount of magnetic gravitation. This is a dynamic force field. you have creation of the turbulence in the plasma. You have here, if you look, position of the magnets. There was a reason for this at that time. You have argon, you have helium, you have hydrogen. And if you look in the bottom of it, you have Ne. This was made, initially proposed to be made of stainless steel. Diameter 1 meter is in the proposal of the production. We looked at this just to make this bowl was something like $100,000, $200,000 at that time. But if you look here is, and read the pattern, argon, helium, hydrogen. The hydrogen in the presence of the argon and the helium in the vacuum, in the presence of magnetic fields, does wonderful things if you know what to do with it. Now with gases you do much better, but this is the human plasma conditions, the atmospheric plasma condition. It has different characteristics. These channels is to feed in different kind of gases into it. And the scientists in the company in Belgium, which is now sold to British Ministry of Defense, confirmed the system works first by the what do you call it, UB, University of Brussels, theoretically after 7 months. And when we put it physically in the hand of the mechanics and what called scientists to build it, after 3 months, yes, it's feasible and it makes the energy. And that's when my problem started with Belgian monarchy. They wanted to steal it. I was told when the physical demonstration scientific was supposed to be shown, I cannot attend the meeting because that time the prince, now the king, was coming to see it and he was supposed to be sold to the British, the company, to confirm the king, yes, that we got the technology from Keshe. And they sold the company for 10 million euro, 10 million euros to the British government. And the British government got the system without the key. And they wanted their money back. You couldn't cheat Keshe to get the key. The only key for the space technology sits in the hand of the Iranian government. They're too clever to cheat. And now they're permanent agencies out of the Keshe Foundation. Now we'll see the development and delivery of this technology, more or less the same kind of reactors, but in a more advanced shape, with the backbone of the system, which will be delivered to go to Moon in June of next year. This is a 3-core reactor, not a 2-core reactor. It's all the same kind of a structure, creating non-magnetic fields, how it does. And these are the tanks and what it needs to be fed, what are made. When you work in a vacuum condition, which you, most of you don't have the facility to do, go back to the picture before, please. Yeah, here, stop there. No, even there you can. If you go to the back, the other one will be easier. Yep, stay there. You see here these dots. Each of these dots, if you see, has a number. And according to the atomic mass, in a vacuum condition, the heavier goes outside, where in a normal condition, the heavier falls in the middle. This is why the body of the man works so efficiently. Because it's in a vacuum, our skin, which is more solid, goes to outside. And the rest of things, according to the structure of the radiation and magnetic field, go into the different position in the body of the man. And then you have changes, which is, for example, in the rib sits outside, but in the bone, in the leg, the bone sits in the center. It's a creation of different fields and different condition of the radiation. These pictures, if you understand, has a lot of meaning. It's very in-depth understanding. You have to understand from thermodynamics to nuclear to materials as a metallurgist, and everything else to know exactly where you put what material, what thermodynamics, what the flow of the field and the plasma. And this is a knowledge carried by one man. And everything works perfectly. What are you finding more in this mayhem of pictures?
Well, there was a question I just had now looking at this. Every time I see these images, I seem to see something different. Let me see if I can make it bigger here. Now this, okay. I was wondering about these little arrows and circular thing here. Is that just on that outer layer? Is there something special there? And is that related to, well, go ahead and answer that first. I have another part to
Yeah. You see, we have this picture in a bigger way is on the back of the book number 3. And in one of the pictures, I think in book number 3 too. When you go from layer to layer, you create vortex dynamic layers in between them. It's not just going around circular. You got the turbulences where the friction of the body holds one end of the plasma and the other end of the plasma goes into vortex. We have it between all layers. You understand? You have a circular rotation of the plasma of the gases because of the physical rotation, and then at a certain point, doesn't matter what the speed you go, then nothing changes in circular rotation. It's around about 2.47, 2.5 K, and then you have the pressure boundary pressures, which push and create vortexes, and in the universal condition, it creates new galaxies and universes.
Okay, so that
If you look in the center, read the word which says, it's very, very small. It says plasma.
plasma. Mm-hmm.
We created the plasma in a specific way. That's what it's called, plasmatic gravitational magnetic generator. If you could tap into the position of the field here and here, you can collect megawatts. And each layer stays separate. Argon, neon, helium, they stay in their own layers, in their own balls. And there's a lot of things we can do with this. And then we feed again gases here, outside. In the Iranian nuclear reactors, space technology, we use other spaces specifically for certain things. You see, you look at this in a spherical shape, but now you look at it as a semi-spherical looking from the top. Now you see a UFO. You understand? You're looking at a cross-section of the side view. But if you look at it, the cross-section of the top view, this is exactly what you get in the UFO, and this is what we use. In the round test, we specifically created radioactive metal condition in these reactors. These creates lift, motion, huge amount of understanding of the fields and direction of the creation in the universe. And we could control the feeds. So we could expand the neon to pressurize the argon, or we could reduce helium to bring pressure on the plasma. Because these are space gaps for each layer. Each pipe will feed one kind of gases. If you look at some of the physical reactors we have, they have 3-4 different channels of piping energy or gases in. Here we feed the gases, and then we convert the gases into plasma into the center. Shall we call it a day?
Yes, quite a performance. Thank you very much, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you very much for today. And I hope we'll see many, many good things will come out of the process will become very, very easy once we send more and more of it. And hopefully with what I explained today and the past, we start making a picture in making a system which makes it possible for man to travel the depth of the universe, both in the condition that his soul and physicality can survive and be fed and be looked after. Thank you very much for today, and see you hopefully next week.
Okay, thank you so much for today's workshop, Mr. Keshe. And thanks everybody for your questions and comments. Let's see, we do have the testimonials group coming up on Monday. Just trying to find the date here. I think it's the 8th. No, it's the 9th. Monday, August 9th. Second Monday in August is our testimonials group, and people are invited to attend that and show your experience of the plasma technology. Now, what else do we have? Is there any other announcements that you'd like to make, Mr. Keshe? Anything coming up?
No, thank you very much. It's just that we're still going ahead with the conference of the 4th and the 5th in Linz, and agricultural conference in Linz again on the 3rd week of September. But there could be developments coming up due to our what will we call it, involvement with different aspects of the geopolitics and diplomacy. If that comes, will change a lot of programs rapidly in response to these changes. I think we have received a new hope, and hopefully this hope will bring us a lot of joy. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. So this has been the 392nd Knowledge Seekers Workshop for Thursday, August 5th, 2021. And I'll play some outgoing commercials to end the workshop, and see everyone next week. Bye for now.
Innovative, revolutionary, stellar development, purest universal knowledge. In a transformative, futuristic design. The Universal Body Enhancement Spaceship Unit. The very first new evolutionary spaceship technology has been rolled out for mass production. Our Universal Body Enhancement Spaceship Unit is constructed from high-quality materials carefully selected by our team of experts. Embedding the essence of the new GAN's plasma science and technology, it uses collective plasma field technology for changing and enhancing the environment of the body of the man. This new plasma enhancement changes the environment of the body to allow it to return to its natural, balanced energetic condition, as in the womb of the mother, allowing every cell in the body of the man to find its natural, original field strength balance. The shape and field distribution in this new space plasma technology replicates the inner structure of the universe and replicates the balance fields from which the man was created at the point of inception in the womb of the mother, not only receiving balance in the physical, but also in the emotional sense too. For the first time in the history of man, a system has been developed and delivered which not only enhances the physical body of the man, but also enhances the emotional part of the user of the system, hence reducing and eliminating many problems that could not be solved in the world of science, to bring the body of the man into near perfection, as at the time of birth. This new spaceship technology can be within the reach of every man today and can be ordered by medical practitioners, sports specialists and healthcare centres. The Universal Enhancement Spaceship Unit, the future you have been waiting for, is here. The journey from space to spaceship technology has started. Every order is subject to a contractual agreement and might require additional accessories priced separately for applications according to each case. You can order or contact us at office@at.kfm.global for additional information. Hello. We are the Keshe Foundation. Our mission is to bring peace on Earth and join humanity with the universal community. We wish and work to bring man as equal to all beings in the universe. By teaching plasma science and technology equally to everyone, no one is left out and no one is abused due to lack of knowledge. By donating to us, you can help achieve this goal. KesheFoundation.org/donate